In this episode, I'd like to discuss how to set up your bus to pick up passengers. There are 4 things that need to be done to get yourself set up and picking up the passengers. 1 is to get yourself a schedule. Secondly, get your bus located to the first stop on that schedule. 3, set up the Integrated Onboard Information System, IBIS. That's your ticketing system, and in the modern buses it also presents the outside display for passengers to know what bus to get on. And then 4th, run your schedule, run your bus to each of the stops throughout the route. The best way to understand and get all 4 of those done is actually for you to understand and know your route. If you know step 4, it makes the first 3 steps easier. And if you haven't already done so, you should go ahead and get yourself in the document folder of OMSI 2 the poster for the Berlin route and take a good look at it. And here I have it up. You can see it's kind of like a Y laying on its side, forked over to the left, the upper fork, and coming down through and intersecting, and then you can go down below to the lower fork of the Y. And that's Hare Street, Stadtgrasse, and then the center is Rathaus. And if you look, there's a number of lines, what I call the red lines, 5, 92, and then 5 at night, 13 at night, the express line, and 92 after 1990. The 92 line, Ferd Street, that's the lower end of the fork, Rheinweg, Hare Street, Straßgasse. And I like to think of the red lines as the lines that we would run in the 80s. And then if we scroll down and look into the purple ones, and then down looking at the purple ones, the 130, 137, if you're going to drive your bus after June of 1991, you're going to want to select the 130, the 137, depending on when you go to Ruhlebahn, the Spandau, Nerven Clinic, or whatever. But the map itself, you can see, is only showing the red lines. The upper fork down to, from the left, top left, you got the Nerven Clinic, and then it goes all the way through. And if you go down to the lower left, down to Stadtgrasse, or over to the right, the Rubelin. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing these German names correctly, but let's zoom in a little bit here, and you can see Route 5 starts up there at the Nerven Clinic. That's a hospital, probably a psychiatric type of hospital. And you were taken on down, make a left-hand turn, and eventually work your way down to the center of that, where all 3 of those legs come together at Rathaus. And then if you want to go the route that takes you all the way to the other side, Hare Street, Straßgasse, notice that some of the letters are in purple. So these names changed, I guess, in the 1990s. If you want to do 1990 driving, then you're going to be looking at the purple routes and the purple names. So Rubelin is the underground is at Rubelin, and that's all the way to the right. And a lot of the lines will terminate at Rubelin or begin at that point. Hare Street, Stadtgrasse is all the way to the left, and so you can see Rubelin, the Spandau, which is in the center of the Y, and then to the top, Nerven Clinic is at the top of the Y all the way to the left. So Route 1 would be, 130 Route 1 would be right to left, and then Route 2 would be left to right, or west to east. And yeah, you can see that after 1991, Hare Street, Stadtgrasse would now call Berg Street and Hannenberg. So if you're looking and you can't find Staatskrause and you can only find Hindenburg, you're going to find that if you're driving a bus in the 1990s, that's the terminus that's going to come up. So be aware of the name changes throughout the route. So you got the red line and the purple lines. So what I want to do is just drive in the 1980s and just look at the red line 92 and red line 5. Let's do a night line as well, and depending on which direction we go and which stops we stop at will determine what route. So you have a line, and then that line has a number of different routes that you can take along that line. So first thing we're going to do is start up, change the date and time, make sure we get it into like 1989. So we're going to be in the red line schedule, and I like to have a day in the week. I also like October because of the leaves changing, and then just hit day to get us to about 12 noon, and then we can click on down to morning time. Say OK and start, and we'll start it on up. And we're going to start at the top of the Y to the left. It's a nerving clinic. So it's right there near the hospital. Yeah, and of course, being up there by the hospital, we have ambulance coming in. I want to use one of these newer buses. When I say newer, the old bus has the roller for the outside, and the newer ones have a full display. So we're going to use a SD200, but we're going to use a, like a 1987 SD87 or so. And you see you have the full display up on the outside. Then we can go into our bus and go ahead and start it up. Press down. Now this newer bus has the actual ignition is your battery switch. It doesn't have a separate button. It doesn't have a separate button for the battery switch, and then you go ahead and do your heating as you would normally and all that stuff. As we wait for the air pressure to build up, we can then look at setting up our schedule, and in the document folder, the manual has the lines and the different routes. That's really what you need to know what you're doing. So we're going to go from Nervenklinc to Rubelin, and that would be Route 5. And of course, it's going to be, it's going to be line 5, but it's going to be 2. Now, we're going to hit that second row, first icon, select Route 5. Then there's a number of different ways you can do it during the day. We want to get it sometime near the hour that we're at, and give us a little breathing room there until we find it, starting at Nervenklinc and ending at Rubelin. And it's going to displace a bus that's already doing that route. That's good. You don't want somebody out there competing with you, picking up your passengers on you. And then once you have that schedule, it'll be up there for you to look at. So we got Rubelin. This is the actual destination after we get done picking up all the stops. And then if you swing around, you can see that there's a chart back here for each of the different lines and the different destinations. If for some reason you just want to go and to one of it, so let's say you want to go to Rathaus, that's 211 would be the code. So for a line 5, if you want to just put in one destination, you can go into the IBIS system, and Zeal is your destination, and just type in 211 and hit the enter button to the right corner, bottom corner, and it would give you that destination. You don't normally do it that way, but that would put the destination up on the outside of the bus. But we don't want just one single destination. We want the full route, so we're going to go line 5, and then the code 00 indicates that there's no special characters. Just put 5 up on there, and then say OK. And then we're going to pick route 02, because we're not going to go from Rubilon to Nervin Clinic. We're going the other way around. So the Nervin Clinic to Rubilon is route 2 instead of the... Now you look at the outside of the bus and you can see it's all displayed. So we want to hit that blue button, and that will tell us, that will step us through each of the bus stops and advance us through. If it's a monitoring the bus, it will put out the announcement. One of the things I hadn't caught up on, and then the gray buttons take you back and forward through the bus stops throughout that route, but there's no announcement with the gray, that's muted. As you pick up passengers, if you hit the blue button, it would announce the next stop. That takes a little bit of skill and practice to get used to stopping the bus, picking them up, and hitting all the right buttons. But this whole IBIS is advances the whole ticketing system, so the passengers can get the proper change when they're ticketing. We're a little early, so I'm going to change the time up and get us closer to the time of the first pickup. So the first pickup would be at Nervin Clinic, and we happen to be there now. We're gonna. This is our little time machine. Back to the future, and we're all set up to go and start picking up passengers. So that's one example. That's line 5, route 2, Nervin Clinic to Rubilon, from all the way to the east. Let's do the same route again at night. So if you look at our chart, line 5N is the night one that's on the bottom of our sheet, and look, it says line course 90500, and it takes us to only to the center, the route house being the destination. So route house Spandau is our destination, and it's the center of the Y where all the links come together. So with line 90500, and using that code, we make sure we get the night route and display. And this is going to be route 2 again, because we're going to Rathaus Spandau, starting at the Nervin Clinic hospital. And you can see outside it actually displays 5N because we used the 905 designator. And the switches along the panel up there, you click on each of those to turn on the dash lights, and then what you want to do is take the ignition switch and rotate it a couple clicks, and that turns on the headlights. But these other switches on top, that turns on the interior lights on the bottom and the top deck of the bus and interior. So 2:35 would be our first pickup at Nervin Clinic, and you can see Rathaus Spandau is the very center where all the intersection up there by that gray box and the green car. Alright, let's do our last line, which will be line 92. And after doing a few of these, we're sticking to the 1980s here, and I've already set up the buses for you, but the red line, 92 Flood Street to Straße, but we're going to start at the Straße and make our way to Flood Street. So that's going to be line 92, 920000. There's no special character code. We just want 92 displayed. We're going to do route 02 again because we're going the opposite direction. If we were going, let's see in here, if we were going to Flood Street to Straße, it would be route 1, but we're doing it the other direction. So, and then it's the first pickup is at the intersection of Hare Street and Straße, and that's where our first pickup would be. And you can see it's displayed nice on the outside. That's the thing about these modern buses. Once you set up the IBIS system, it sets up the ticketing for each stop, and it gets you, as long as you keep the schedule, and it displays it on the outside of the bus just perfectly fine. So your friends here, as you can see, will be the documentation that you get in the, reading the manual. You have that chart with all the different routes, so you know what route number to use, depending on what bus stop you want to start at and what bus stop you want to stop at. So in this case, 92 is starting here at all the way to the left. Each red dot is a bus stop, and we're ready to go. We got a few passengers marching along here wanting to get on.
Hallo. Morgen. Morgen.
And we have our navigation system up, and you can see that orange arrow telling us which way to go. The yellow arrows tell you every stop in existence and gives you the street names. Kind of helps you begin to learn the city streets. But the orange arrows are the ones that tell you where your next stop is. So as you see, we just picked up at Hare Street, Straße, and we're going to work our way down to the... We're not picking up anybody in Rhyming Weg, but we're going to pick up, go past that stop, and our next stop would be Pilgrim Weg. Oh, I don't know. And eventually we'll make our way all the way up through each stop to get to the Rathaus Landau, where everything intersects. So hopefully you are getting a handle now on how to set up the bus using the IBIS system, set up the ticketing, and have the knowledge that you need to poke in the codes and know where to go get the tables and the document and the manual, and learn the route, learn the map, and you're all set to go. So hopefully you enjoyed, and the next time I will spend some time to show you how to set up one of the older buses that does not automatically display on the outside. Alright, bye for now.